The day Lena the learner embraced her mistakes. Have you ever tried to do something and it just didn't work out the way you wanted? Have you ever felt like giving up? In a sunlit house on a quiet street lived a girl with bright eyes and an even brighter imagination named Lena. What Lena loved most was to draw. She would sit at her small wooden desk, a blank sheet of paper in front of her, and dream up worlds. She loved to draw everything, from grand, towering castles with turrets that touched the clouds to magical winding gardens filled with incredible flowers. But there was one problem. Lena was a perfectionist. Every time her pencil made a line that wasn't perfectly straight or her crayon went outside the line, her tummy would get a wobbly, frustrated feeling. Her shoulders would tense up and a sigh would escape her lips. A messy smudge was the worst. It felt like a giant, ugly mistake that ruined everything. One afternoon, Lena was trying to draw the most magnificent castle she had ever imagined, a fortress with stone walls and a tall, majestic tower. She was working so hard, concentrating on every single brick and tiny flag flying from the spew, but her hand slipped and a thick, dark line smudged across the front of her castle. It looked like a terrible, irreparable scar. A tear welled up in her eye. She looked at the smudge and it felt like her entire drawing was ruined. She grabbed the paper, crumpled it up into a tight ball, the sound of the paper crunching as loud as a thunderclap in her ears. She threw it in the trash with a frustrated sob. "I give up," she whispered. "I'm not good at this." "My drawings are never perfect." Just then, her next-door neighbor, an old and wise artist named Mr. Elias, saw her from his window. He had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners and a beard as white as a cloud. He came over to the fence. "Hello, Lena," he said softly. "It seems a mighty castle has fallen. May I see?" Lena shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No!" "It was full of mistakes. It's ruined." Mr. Elias smiled gently. "My dear, the greatest artists in the world don't fear mistakes. They learn from them. May I show you something?" He gestured toward his workshop, a place filled with the smell of paint and possibility. Hesitantly, Lena followed him inside. Mr. Elias pulled out a large, worn-out sketchbook. "This," he said, "is where my masterpieces begin." He opened the book and Lena gasped. The pages were filled with messy, scribbled lines, smudges, and drawings that had been erased and redrawn 100 times. There were wobbly lines and clumsy shapes. "These are not mistakes, Lena," Mr. Elias explained, his voice gentle and calm. "These are steps. Every wrong line was a step toward a right one. Every smudge was a lesson. Look at this one." He pointed to a drawing of a swirling, colorful bird. "I was trying to draw a feather, and my pencil slipped, creating this big smudge. It was a mistake. But then I looked at it and saw a wing. So I turned my mistake into a magnificent, soaring wing." Mistakes are not bad things. They are the seeds of new ideas. They teach us to be patient and to try again. He told her that his journey to become a great artist was not a straight line, but a path filled with messy detours and happy accidents. Think of a drawing as a journey, not a perfect finish. The journey is where the magic happens. He then showed her a large, beautiful painting on his easel. It was a serene field with a bright red barn. "This is a finished work," he said. "But do you know how many mistakes it took to make it perfect? Dozens. It took patience. It took courage. and it took a lot of crumpled paper. Lena looked at the beautiful painting, then at the messy sketchbook, and a new feeling began to grow in her heart. Not frustration, but a quiet kind of hope. She went home, took a fresh sheet of paper, and began to draw. When her hand slipped and a line wobbled, she didn't get angry. She stopped, looked at the line, and thought, maybe this wobbly line is a road instead of a wall, she thought. She turned her mistake into a new part of her drawing, and she drew and drew, not worrying about being perfect, but about being patient and trying again. Her next castle was not flawless, but it was unique. One part of the wall, which she had accidentally made too tall, became a new grand lookout tower. A smudge of green on the stone became a patch of beautiful moss. Lena even added a little snail crawling on the moss, making her drawing even more special. Lena learned that day that the most beautiful creations aren't the ones without mistakes. They are the ones that are full of them, full of courage and patience, and filled with the story of a person who never gave up. And that's the end of this adventure, but a new one is always just around the corner. Subscribe to Storiella so you don't miss it.